Welcome to another tutorial on Onshape for drawing the D speakers. Here we're going to do a slightly trickier tutorial, so this one is probably hard, I would say, if you haven't done any of the other tutorials before. So you may wish to look at the cylinder speaker or the cube speaker before looking at this, and perhaps even have a go at the oval speaker before attempting the dome speaker. So let's make a start. We'll assume you've got an account set up and that you've opened the software. I'm in the folder that I'm going to save my files, and I'm going to left click on create and left click on document. So I'm going to call this one domed speaker, type it in, hit enter, and the drawing area will load. So I've got my three work planes here, and for this I'm going to actually draw the speaker on the front work plane. I'm going to draw the profile that I'm going to extrude to get the speaker shape. So I'm going to move the mouse cursor so it's just over the corner of the front work plane. You can see that the edges of the front work plane have been highlighted in orange. I'm going to right click and I'm going to left click new sketch. The sketch dialog boxes appeared up in the left, and I now want to view onto the work plane. So I can right click and then left click on view normal to sketch plane, or I could press the N key for normal to on the keyboard. So I'm now going to draw the profile of the shape that I want to extrude. I'm going to start off with the center point circle. If a different circle tool is appearing, just left click on the arrow and pick the center point circle tool. And I'm going to start off in the middle of the drawing, in the origin, which is where the three work planes align with each other. This is important because I might want to mirror some of the features later on. So just hover over the origin, left click to position the center of the circle, just drag out and then left click again. I'm going to dimension that, so I'm going to use the dimension tool. Left click on the diameter, outside circumference, and change the diameter to 90 millimeters. So I've just typed 90 in on the keyboard, hit enter, and I've now got a circle drawn. From that I'm going to pull down a line, so I'm going to use the line tool. So left click on the line tool to select it. I'm going to hover over the center, the origin, come over to the left, and hopefully you can see there's a dashed orange line coming away from the origin to the left, and also now the outside edge of the circle has turned orange as well, so it shows that I'm picking both of those points up. I'm going to left click and come down and just draw a line, and left click again. Now the line wants to carry on, so I'm just going to press escape to stop that from happening. I'm now going to dimension that line, so I'm going to use the dimension tool again and left click on the line, left click over to the left, and I want that to be a distance of 50 millimeters. So I'm just going to type in 50 and hit enter, and that's the right length that I want for what's going on. Now I want to have a line over the other side as well. I could draw it in, but let's use the mirror tool. So this is the mirror tool. Left click on there, it prompts me what to do, select a mirror line. I'm going to click the edge of the right work plane. You can see it's gone yellow to show that it's selected, and now it's asking me to select the entities to be mirrored, and I just want to select that vertical line, and so it appears over there. This is why we tried to make sure that when we drew that circle it was central, because we can mirror those lines across the edge of that work plane. I'm now going to trim out the bottom of the circle. So I'm going to select the trim tool, click on the bottom half of the circle, and that should disappear, and that gives me an arch shape. I'm now going to create an offset profile to this. So I'm going to use the offset tool, which to me looks a little bit like Mr. Greedy from the Mr. Man. Left click on that, and then I'm going to select these lines. So click on the left line, the arch, and the right vertical line. I actually want these to be on the inside, not the outside, so I'm going to hover the mouse over the arrow, then press and hold the left mouse button, drag it inside, and let go. Once I've done that, I'm just going to press enter on the keyboard, and that brings a dialog box up, and I can enter the distance that I want that line to be. I want it to be 6 millimeters, so I'm going to press 6 and then press enter, and we now have that part of the profile. Now at the moment I need to close off the bottom of these lines, so I'm going to use the line tool, and notice the difference this time. Instead of clicking the start of the line and then clicking the end of the line, I'm going to click and hold the start of the line and then release the mouse button at the end of the line that I want to draw. And you'll see that instead of trying to do a multi-line, it just does the one line and I don't have to press escape to finish it off. So we've got the line tool selected. I'm going to hover over this point. You can see it's gone orange and selected it, and you can see that there's a coincidence indicator come up just below and to the right of the cursor to tell me that it's going to snap. So I'm pressing the left mouse button, holding it down, going across, and then I'm going to go up to this point, and again you can see it snapped to it. Now I'm going to let go of the mouse and you can see that it's drawn that in. Now it's shaded everything in grey, so it will work with that sketch. But the golden rule of sketches is from any point you only want to have two lines. So if I take this point here, I've got a line going to the left of the point, I've got a line going up from the point, and I've got a third line going to the right of that point. So really I want to get rid of this line. So I'm going to use the trim tool and I'm going to trim away that line. You can now see that this arch now, the profile is just shaded in grey, and I could extrude that. However, I need to add another part along the bottom. So I'm going to use the line tool again, and I'm going to hover over the left side line that's on the inside of the arch, click with the left mouse button, drag it across, making sure that I keep it horizontal. Now I know it's horizontal because I've got a dashed orange line making up the line, and also just to the right and below the cursor is a horizontal line that's telling me that this is in fact a horizontal line. It's snapping to a horizontal position. If I let go when I highlight the other line, it will snap to that one on the other side, and you can see that it's filled that in again. I'm going to draw another line just above it, and you'll see this is what it looks like if it's horizontal. If I move the line up, the little indicator below the right hand side of the cursor and the dotted orange appearance of the line disappears. So if I move up, that happens, and if I move down, that happens. So I'm just going to make sure I keep it horizontal and snap to the other side. And now I have a position where we don't know accurately where those lines are, so I'm going to use the dimension tool. The first thing I'm going to do is to click on the top line and then the bottom line, and over here I'm going to click again and I'm going to type 6 on the keyboard because I want them to be 6mm apart. And I'm going to do the same with one of the bottom lines and the bottom line that I've just drawn in, and left click in a space and again type in 6, and you can see that that's lowered it down. What I now need to do to follow the rule of only having two lines coming away from a point, here I've got 3, one going up, one going to the right, one going down, is to trim out these middle parts. So again I'm going to use the trim tool, and I'm going to left click in the gap and left click in the gap, and I now have the shape that I want. So we're now going to extrude that shape. So I'm going to select the Extrude tool over at the top left up here, left click on that, and if I just hold the right mouse button down and spin it around, you can see that I'm trying to create my three-dimensional shape. It's defaulted to 25mm. I want to change that to 120, so I'm just going to click on the number, type in 120 and press enter, and we now have a preview of that. However, because I want to mirror some features in a moment, I don't want it all coming straight out from the front. I want it to be symmetrical about the front so that I can use the front work plane as the mirror surface. So I'm going to tick the symmetric box, and you can see now that it's shifted it back, and it'll actually be 60mm in front of the front plane and 60mm behind it. Left click to tick to say that I'm happy with that. And then I'm going to use the right mouse button in space just to spin that around so that I can see this front face. So I'm now going to select the front face. So I'm not going to move the mouse cursor so it's picking up a work plane. That would indicate that it's picking up the front work plane because it's highlighted the edges in orange. Here I'm just highlighting the outside edge of the vertical part. Here you can see that all the edges of that face are highlighted, so that would be picking up the edge. And here I'm just picking up the inside edge. So I don't want to pick up an edge, I want to pick up the face. So I'm just going to move the mouse back over and picking up the whole face. I'm going to right click and I'm going to select New Sketch. I'm now going to press the N key for normal to, so that we go normal to that surface. And we're now going to draw onto this face the profile for the end of the speaker. In fact, I'm not going to draw many of the lines. I'm actually going to use the edges of what we've already got here to create the sketch. So I'm going to use this tool, which is the Projectile Convert tool. Left click on it, and I'll start on the arch, and if I left click on there, sometimes it takes 2 clicks for the first part, but left click on it, you can see it's darkened up and we've got a couple of points showing the end of the line. I'm going to do the same on the outer vertical left line and the same on the outer vertical right line. So I've got the archway drawn there. I'm happy with that, so I'm going to left click on that to turn the tool off. And now I'm going to use the line tool again, so left click on the line tool, and again I'm going to locate that point in the corner. I'm going to hold the left mouse button down. I'm not going to let go of it. I'm going to go all the way across, pick up the other point, and then I'm going to let go of the left mouse button. And that's picked up the whole of that face. So I can move that around and you can see the kind of the ghost, the shade of the sketch there. Now, before I extrude this, I also want to put in the hole that the speaker would fit in. So I just press N again, so I go normal to the sketch, and I'm going to select the center point circle. I'm going to locate the origin, left click to place the center of the circle, left click to position the circumference of the circle, and then I'm going to use the dimension tool to dimension the diameter of that circle. So just left click again in space outside of the drawing, and I'm going to type in 67 because that's the diameter of the circle, and there it is drawn. I'm just going to tilt that round to the side slightly, so hold the right mouse button down and pull that round just so you can see what's going to happen next. I'm going to use the Extrude tool again, and it's defaulted to 25mm. It's going to add material to what we've already drawn, but it's going to be 25mm. I want that to be 6mm, so just click on it to select it, type in 6, press enter, and we've got another preview. So if I just spin the whole thing round, you can see it's filled in the back face. So I shall left click on the tick to confirm that's what I want to do. And there we go, we've got the back filled in. Now I could do the same on this back surface. I could draw that shape out again, but actually there's a shortcut. I can mirror what I've just done. So we can mirror entities in sketches, but we can also mirror parts, and we can mirror features within the model as well. So I'm going to use the mirror tool. So this is the feature mirror tool because it's in the features menu. We haven't got a sketch open. Left click on that. It defaults to a part mirror. I'm going to left click on part mirror and change that to feature mirror. And what feature am I going to mirror? Well, I'm going to mirror Extrude 2. So left click on that in the menu on the left hand side. And the mirror plane, so I'm going to left click on the mirror plane box to select that. And it's the front work plane that I'm going to select to be the mirror plane. So if I just spin that around so we can see the other side, and then I'll click on the front work plane. I use the right mouse button held down to spin it around. Left click on the front work plane, and you can see it's added that onto the other side. Left click to tick. There we go. There we've got the basic shape. But let's add on some feet onto the bottom. So let's turn it around so we can see the bottom surface. Hover over the bottom surface, not on the edge, the very bottom edge, but on the large flat surface. Right click on there, left click on New Sketch, press N to locate on normal to the surface we're drawing on. So I'm going to use the center circle again, and I'm just going to draw that anywhere in here. I'm going to make sure it doesn't line up with anything. I'm just going to draw in space, and then I'm going to dimension it. So first of all, I'm going to dimension the diameter of the circle. So click on the outside of the circle, left click, type in 13, press enter, and we now have a 13mm diameter circle. I'm now going to dimension to the center of the circle. So I'm going to pick up the left outside edge and the center of the circle. Just come up above the drawing and type in 20. And I'm going to do the same from the top edge and the center of the circle, and also type in 20. Now if your drawing is slightly different to this, and yours rectangle is looking vertical as opposed to sort of horizontal. If yours is in portrait, if you like, instead of landscape, don't worry about that. What we're going to do is exactly the same. So we've drawn a circle, and this is going to become one of our feet. So I'm just now going to extrude 1 foot. So use the Extrude Tool. And again, it defaults to 25 millimeters. We actually want to extrude it 10 millimeters. So click on the measurement, type in 10, hit enter, and then left click. So there's our foot drawn. Now we actually want 4 of these feet. So let's mirror the feet. So use the mirror tool, change it from part mirror to feature mirror. Feature to mirror is going to be extrude 3, and the mirror plane, we're going to pick the front plane again. So that's drawn 1 over there. We can tick that to say we're happy with it. And we want 2 feet over this side as well now. So let's use the mirror command again. Left click on mirror and change it from part mirror to feature mirror. And our features to mirror this time, we want it to be extrude 3 and mirror 2. The mirror plane this time is going to be the right plane, so move it around so you can see the right plane. Left click on the right plane and it puts those 2 feet in. Left click to confirm. Finally, you might recognize what these feet are. We're basing these on the feet that you put on your D-Light, which have got a curved bottom to them. So let's put a radius or a fillet on those. So use the fillet tool. We're going to change the dimension from 5 to 6.5, and we're just then going to click on the bottom edge of each of the feet to put a round fillet on. Left click the tick to confirm, and now we've got the feet drawn. And if I right click and go to isometric, we can see what the model looks like in isometric. Now in isometric we can't quite see the feet, so we could move that to a slightly different angle by holding down the right mouse button if you want to. Let's create a drawing of this now so that we could print it out and do some test renders as if we were going to use different materials. So click on the little plus sign in the bottom left of the work screen and left click on create drawing. We're going to go to a custom template and we're going to change ANSI to ISO, so American National Standards Institute, to International Standards Organization, which allows us to select an A4 size piece of paper. We're not going to worry about changing any of the other settings. We can actually left click on do not include, so that doesn't put any border or anything on our drawing. Click OK with the left mouse button and it will load up the drawing screen. So there's no border on there. We could have unticked the box of information as well if we wanted to. We have the part studio here, which is what we want. We've got part 1, which is also what we want, is what we've been working on. So let's left click that. And it defaults to doing an orthographic drawing. To change that, if we go to view orientation, we can left click on the arrow and change it from front to isometric. And this is a half scale one. We can see the preview. Let's see if we can fit a full scale one on there. So left click, scroll upwards with the scroll wheel, select 1 to 1. And that just about fits on. It's going to overlap the box slightly, but it'll still allow us to trace over it to be able to create our variety of rendered versions of it. So we can trace over the outline with a pencil and then we can render it with different coloured pencils and to try and put different textures or materials on there. That's the end of this tutorial. Thank you for watching. See you in the next tutorial. Bye bye.